Hi, my friends. Welcome back to another story time with Sydney. Today we're going to be reading my very first space book by Usborne Books. This book is the perfect way for little children to find out about space. It's full of charming pictures with lots of things to look for and talk about. The night sky. When the sun sets, the sky grows dark. You'll start to see twinkling stars. What you're looking at is just a tiny part of space. Space is so enormous, no one knows how big it really is. Someone who studies space is called an astronomer. The moon is the brightest thing in the sky. Do you guys see this building over here? It's the space agency where people design spacecrafts and train to go into space. And over here, there's a rocket ready to launch. People who fly into space are called astronauts. So what is space? We live on planet Earth, and space is everything around our planet. There are lots of incredible things out there. Can you guys spot the stars on this page? Can you guys spot the rocket on this page? How about the space rocks? Earth is covered by a layer of gases called the atmosphere. This is planet Earth. From space, it looks like a green, blue, and white ball. The green parts are land and the blue parts are water. The moon. The moon is a big ball of rock that travels around the Earth. The lighter areas are the tops of the high mountains, and the dark patches are huge holes called craters. There's no air or water, and nothing lives on the moon. Over 40 years ago, the first astronauts landed on the moon. So far, only 12 astronauts have ever been there. Can you guys spot the American flag on this page? How about somebody holding a camera? Do you guys see the cool moon car? Space school. Before astronauts go into space, they have to do a lot of training. Learning about everything space and space travel, getting fit and being tested on it, finding out how to work space controls, emergency escape drills, and learning what to do if they crash at sea. Using tools, learning the languages of astronauts from different countries, repairing a pretend spacecraft while floating in a huge water tank, talking to experienced astronauts, and being given a mission and meeting the rest of the crew. Liftoff. A rocket, called a launch vehicle, flies a team of 3 astronauts into space. This is a reference to what a launch vehicle being prepared for liftoff looks like. There's a Soyuz spacecraft, booster rockets, astronauts going up to the Soyuz, and a service tower that keeps the launch vehicle in place. Here we see astronauts inside Soyuz getting ready for liftoff, booster rockets firing, liftoff, booster rockets falling back to Earth, and launch vehicles falling back and Soyuz flying away. Space station. In space, astronauts live and work in a spacecraft called the International Space Station. It flies high above the Earth. Soyuz joins up with the space station and astronauts go in. There's even a place for astronauts to relax. Solar panels attached to the space station turn sunlight into power. There are even laboratories on the space station for experiments. Living in space. On the space station, everything floats. This is what happens during a day. Washing using dry shampoo, using the toilet, exercising for 2 hours, eating, repairing the outside of the space station, doing experiments, relaxing, cleaning, receiving deliveries from supply spacecrafts, unpacking supplies, talking to family back home, taking photos of Earth, and going to sleep. Spacewalk. There's no air in space. When astronauts go on a spacewalk outside the space station, they have to wear a spacesuit that gives them air and keeps them safe. This includes a helmet, an air and water tank, a drink bag, tools, a cap with a microphone, and much more. Astronauts go on spacewalks in pairs, checking out spacesuits and putting them on, going into an air block for 24 hours, opening the exit hatch, attaching the tether and going outside, retrieving instructions from the Earth, fitting new equipment into the space station, drinking from the drink bag, and returning to the space station. The solar system. The Earth is one of 8 planets that travel around the sun. The sun and the planets are known as the solar system. Let's name some of the planets. On this page, we see Mercury, Earth, Mars, Venus. We even see the tiny moon on this page. On this page, we see Jupiter, Neptune, Uranus, Saturn, and even this tiny little dwarf planet, Pluto. Fun fact, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune aren't solid. They're balls of gas or liquid. Exploring Mars. Small spacecraft have flown vehicles called rovers to Mars. Rovers find out more about the rocks and air on Mars. You can see a spacecraft fly to Mars, a parachute open up to slow down the spacecraft, and there's a rover packed inside. A space crane lowers down and drops a rover on Mars. The rover is receiving instructions from the Earth, exploring different places and taking pictures, firing a laser and drilling into rocks to find out what's inside them, scooping up dust and testing it, finding out about the weather on Mars, and sending pictures back to Earth. Stars. Stars are massive balls of very, very hot gases. The sun is a star. This is what it looks like close up. From Earth, the sun looks bigger than the other stars because it's our closest star. There are different types of stars. Our sun, the yellow one over here, is called a yellow dwarf. This blue star is the biggest and most powerful star called the supergiant. And this red star over here are called red dwarfs. Life of a star. A new star is formed out of a huge swirling cloud of gas and dust called a nebula. Part of the nebula gets thicker and hotter. Slowly it turns into a hot ball. This becomes a new star. Stars glow and burn for millions and millions of years. Then they start to change. A yellow dwarf star gets cooler, bigger, and duller. Its outer layers puff away. Eventually, a white dwarf star is left behind. A supergiant star gets bigger and brighter. It explodes. This is called a supernova. A big cloud of gas is left behind. Great galaxies. Millions and millions of stars form massive groups called galaxies. Galaxies come in different shapes and sizes. This top one is called a spiral galaxy. Next to it is called a cartwheel galaxy because it looks like a wheel. Some galaxies look like bright balls. Other galaxies are slowly joining together. The sun is just one star in a spiral galaxy called the Milky Way. Lots of stars are being formed in the bright bulge. The sun is around there somewhere. Looking at space. Telescopes help people see things in space that are very far away. There are a lot of different types. Space telescopes take pictures of things in space. Probes fly around the planets. With telescopes or binoculars, you can see things in more detail. Hubble is a famous space telescope. Here is a spacecraft taking Hubble into space, Hubble flying around the Earth, astronauts fitting new cameras into Hubble, Hubble taking lots of pictures and sending it back to Earth, and scientists trying to study the pictures. Stargazing. Even without a telescope, you can see lots of things in the night sky. Stars can be joined up to make pictures called constellations. Can you guys point out a constellation that looks like a dog? How about one that looks like a pot? That one's called the Big Dipper. On this page, we can see the International Space Station passing overhead, and it looks like a big bright star. We can see the moon, planet Jupiter, planet Venus, a shooting star, and even the brightest part of the Milky Way galaxy. When glowing lights like this appear, it's called an aurora. Alright, my friends, that's the end of another story time with Miss Sydney. I hope you guys enjoyed and learned a little bit more about space.